Hello, Mixtresses and Mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress Video. So I'm going to give you my opinions on modern Nirvana Oracle. I had resisted it for some time because I saw an amazing review from Levi for Masculine Intuition Readings. And he talked me out of it. But he basically just managed my expectations of it, because essentially I did decide that I wanted to get it, obviously, because here it is. But okay, I have some problems with it. Some of them are going to be the same issues that he had in his review, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what's going on, because this deck is going to be used a lot on this channel, most likely. Because I do think, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let's start with the things I don't like about this deck. Okay, the box. The box, I think, it's already beat up, and I just got it today. This is what you would see, like, because I store most of my decks on my shelf. Hold on, let me move the light to a better position here. Kinda? I don't know. No, this is terrible. This is terrible. God. Okay, hold on. No, I can't do what I usually do. Because... Okay, maybe I can do this. Is that any better? No. Oh my god, okay. Okay, whatever. You see, so normally I store my decks on a shelf with the spines out. Look at all this. Look at all this nonsense. It's so much. So one of my biggest issues with the deck is that it has 4 authors and an illustrator. Like, that's too many fucking cooks in the kitchen, guys. It really is. Plus, I don't know. I just don't like this box. And the ribbon is all like crunchy already. The box is all dented. Like, I'm just not here for this box. So I'm going to throw it out. And it has like, there's like glue oozing out the sides. Like, whatever it was. It says $24.95, but I got it for like $20 from Amazon. So big deal, right? I don't care. I'm going to throw the box out. I'm also going to throw these 4 cards out. They're all, or 5, sorry. They're all these sort of like sigils. There are 10 of them in the deck, so I did leave 5 in. I don't like them visually. They don't match the rest of the deck, because the rest of the deck is like, you know, nice illustrations, and then we have sigils for seemingly no reason. Like, the guidebook describes them as being meditations, so the entries for the cards that have the sigils on them are slightly different in the guidebook, but still. The reason I'm getting rid of these 5 is because either there's a repeated concept in the deck itself already, or I just didn't like the concept, so I'm getting rid of Nirvana because visually I don't like this, and I also think that another card that makes sense as Nirvana, I'm just going to find it. Another card that is that same concept without being, I don't know, that is that same concept, but it's a little bit more accessible, is Awareness, I believe. So, this one is going in the trash. Synthesis is another one that, like, there are several cards in the deck that I feel have the same idea as Synthesis. I should have organized this beforehand, right? That would have been just weird if I did that. Like, one, the idea that we are all one kind of fits with the concept of Synthesis. There was another one too. This one. The concept of involution is also kind of, we are all one, the creator is us, we are the creator, just that sort of like vibe. And that's why I wrote on here also that thou art, the concept of tat tavam asi, Brahman and Atman. Like, I feel like synthesis, the guidebook defines it as kind of the same as involution. So I decided to keep involution because it's a more interesting word. So I'm getting rid, sorry, I'm confusing myself. Okay, getting rid of this one. The Rose Phoenix is just like, what the fuck? The Rose Phoenix. And the idea is basically that, you know, as a blooming rosebud rising from the ashes. Okay? But there's also, already, there's a Transcendence card, which kind of makes sense as that concept. And there's a... forgot what I was... oh yeah, and there's a Rebirth card already. So Rose Phoenix, gotta go. It just sounds like a really cheesy, like, Rebecca Campbell bullshit. The Rose Phoenix sounds like cheesy Rebecca Campbell bullshit to me, and that's not for me. And it's fine if it's for you, but it's not for me. And then this is another one. I thought I was going to keep it when I wrote transformation on here as the keyword. But again, I feel like I don't like the term the Philosopher's Stone. I get that it's bringing alchemy into it, and Jennifer Sodini, one of the main authors, is really into alchemy, but it just reminds me of Harry Potter. And there's already like the Transcendence card, there's already other concepts that are close to transformation without the word transformation being there, that I just decided throwing that one away. And then this, squaring the circle as above, so below, also kind of fits with that same concept that we got with the involution card and the we are all one card. That seems like the same concept to me, because squaring the circle in the guidebook says stuff about as above, so below, as within, so without. And I just don't like, you know, in a deck that's full of mostly keywords that are very accessible, such as reflection, protection, nourishment, even know thyself. I'm into that. Authentic expression. Has a weird description in the guidebook, but I'm just going to go with, you know, be yourself as authentic expression. Liberation. So in a deck full of mostly pretty accessible basic oracle concepts, we have something called squaring the circle, where you're like, what the fuck? And you have to look it up. So it just, overall, I think this deck is a bit internally inconsistent. So those 5 cards going in the trash with the box. So that's that. I'll go ahead and show you the rest of these cards too, just so you can have a full, though disjointed, flip through. So I got this deck because I've been doing all these pick-a-pile readings for you guys lately. Link below to my Amazon wishlist if you want to buy any decks for me to use on the channel. I have like 5 decks on there right now that I think, especially Oracle decks, because I'm kind of lacking in that category. I don't use a lot of Oracle decks for myself, but doing all these pick-a-pile readings lately, I'm wanting to break out more in different art to show you guys. So, and I don't want to like start spending too much money again. So I just put things on my wish list and I'm trying to forget about it right now. But this is one thing that I did buy for myself, because I'm going to try to use it as a basic Oracle deck. We're going to see how it goes. I just got it today. Because many of these concepts are... I love the art. Like, I didn't say that yet, but like, the person that I care about in this long list of people is Natalie Miller. Natalie Ray Miller, she did the art for A Minty Oracle. I love her art. That's why I got this deck. Her art is beautiful. And the cardstock is it reminds me of like current Hay House cardstock. It's a little bit less It's a little bit more substantial, like a little bit weightier than current Hay House cardstock, but it has a similar finish that's like pretty matte and smooth. It's a little thicker and stiffer than I would like, but it's shuffleable because it's only a 50 card deck. 45 now because I took out 5 of the cards. But overall, I think this is going to be a very usable deck after throwing out those extra 5 cards. After, like, several of the cards, as you'll see, I added little keywords and things too to help me. I've spent a lot of time with the guidebook today. I guess this is probably a good time to talk about the guidebook. It's very convoluted because, again, we have 4 authors. So every single entry in the guidebook, at the very end, okay, so every single entry in the guidebook has, like, okay, so there's the representation of the card, there's the card title, it's in alphabetical order. You have a quote at the beginning, you have a bunch of paragraphs, this is one of the meditations, so it has steps for the meditation, and then a mantra at the end. But at the end, right before the mantra, is where you see the initials of the particular author that wrote the entry. 4 different authors, guys. 4 different authors. And also at the very, very beginning, we have a dedication from each of the 4 authors. And at the end, you have acknowledgements from each of the 4 authors. There's no dedication or acknowledgements from the artist who made all the beautiful imagery. Like, why is she not important enough for that, you know? Like, what the fuck? Okay, I was talking about the guidebook. All right. So, it's very convoluted. I did sort of find a Minty Oracle who was... A Minty Oracle was just Jennifer Sodini and Natalie Miller. So it was much less, you know, chaotic. It was much more internally consistent. But even that I did find to be confusing at times. The entries in a Minty Oracle sometimes read a little bit like Tantric Dakini guidebook, which... sometimes very profound. There's little profound nuggets in there, but a lot of it reads as nonsensical to me. And that's what you get with this guidebook as well. Like, several of the... I haven't read the whole thing, but I've read a big chunk of the guidebook today. And most of the time, like, you really have to concentrate to, like, it's very disjointed. And obviously it's disjointed too because it's 4 different authors. But... I think ultimately I'm going to end up either completely ignoring the guidebook or maybe just concentrating on, maybe in each entry I'll highlight like 1 key sentence. Maybe I'll read the quote and the mantra, but the mantras are pretty silly too. I think I'm going to get more out of just reading this deck intuitively than I am using the guidebook. However, I am going to use this deck as sort of a daily draw deck for a little while for myself, just to give the guidebook more of a chance. But, okay. I keep thinking I'm going to stop talking about the guidebook, but I'm not. Something that I really want to bitch about, which I'm pretty sure Levi bitched about too. First of all, okay, so we get in the introduction, what is modern Nirvana? And then there's an answer, but it makes no sense to me. What is a Minty Oracle? Okay, why are we talking about a Minty Oracle? Because that's not this. So then it talks about a Minty Oracle for a while, and then it talks about modern Nirvana being a combination of a Minty, but that makes no sense because they're totally different things. Like, anyway. Okay, so a bunch of shit that doesn't really, like, it's a lot of babbling about, like, different shit. Some of it's fun, some of it's not. Get a quote from Wizard of Oz, a quote from The Matrix, how to use the cards. Blah, 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 blah. Clearing your energy. Okay, here's the part that pissed me off. Do not Vegas shuffle your cards. They can capture stray energies or become easily damaged. That was the main thing that when Levi read that in his video, I was like, fuck this deck. I'm not buying that. But in the end, the art drew me in. I do think, and we'll see if I'm right, but I do think that this deck has potential as a basic Oracle deck. And when I say basic, I mean that as a compliment with Oracle decks. I like Oracle decks to be like this, you know, like Vintage Wisdom, that is usually the main Oracle deck that I use in almost all of my my pick-a pile readings and things like that, because it's just images with an accessible keyword. That's all you need for a great Oracle deck. And for the most part, this deck, if you ignore the guidebook, can be that. It seems. Of course, I just got it today, so we'll see if it actually works that way. With several of the cards, I needed to add more to them, so I did. This one I ended up having to white out part of it, and it looks pretty crappy. But for Prism, the guidebook was, again, it's difficult for me. Like, okay, I'm going to read you what it says for the Prism card, okay? I'm going to read it. Hopefully it's not one of the really fucking long entries. Okay, there's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. You are what you believe in. You become that which you believe you can become. So the idea is your perception is reality. Perception is reality, but that concept is repeated in a couple different places in this deck. So, yeah, there's that. When light moves through a prism, it is refracted by the angles and shape of the object. Because of the nature of its geometry and structure, it is able to take solid white light and separate it into a spectrum of differing colors. A rainbow emerges from a singularity at the speed of light, only after passing through mirrored three-dimensional reality. The prism card asks us to reflect on this metaphor, on the current shape of how you're relating to a single thought or idea. Have you found yourself stuck in a myopic point of view, unable to release shackles of uncertainty, defeat, or limiting belief? Okay, well, that little paragraph actually is good. I'm going to highlight that. But I feel like they could leave it there. They could leave it there, but they go on to, there's another 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, and then there's a mantra. Prism is here to remind you that whatever is feeling like a single-minded perception can be bent into boundlessness by seeing into the spectrum of potential that exists within whatever timeline we choose to participate in. Pain has the potential to be transmuted through a prism of humor. If you can find the courage in your heart, belief has a prismatic effect. So it's a lot for me, and it feels very like flow, what is it called? Flow of consciousness? Stream of consciousness. It feels very stream of consciousness, the way that the guidebook is written a lot of the time. Which, I mean, you guys know, I'm stream of consciousness all the fucking time. But this is a guidebook. It should be clear and concise. Like, if you're pulling a card, you should be able to look at it and synthesize the information very quickly to get the message. I think, because it doesn't read, it's not poetic enough, it's not lyrical enough, it's not like literature. When you're reading it, it's not beautiful. It doesn't warrant like several pages. They're simple concepts, but the way that they're explained is not simple in the guidebook. Sorry for these little, like, I corner rounded on top of my... It was a terrible idea. Like lace and velvet and corner rounding at the same time? What the fuck was I thinking? Anyway, this, for whatever, I'll explain that in a different video, but like why I put that on there. These are just like little prompts for myself and how I'm going to be interpreting these cards. Because some of the images that for me, I felt I needed to know what the guidebook was trying to say with it. Like reciprocity, like what the fuck, reciprocity? What do they mean by that? But essentially they're talking about karma. They're talking about if you are a person who acts in service of others, that will come back to you. That love and kindness will come back to you. And I'm like, boat? This is another one that kind of bugged me too, because when you have like more basic concepts like equanimity, compassion, protection, etc., then why do you suddenly have an object, boat, when they could have just called this transition? Because that's essentially what they're talking about. So these ones at the end are all the ones that I added to, because modern was, I was like, what? How is modern a concept that needs to be in an oracle deck? But the guidebook was essentially saying that, you know, you can use modern technologies to access ancient wisdom, is basically. So I decided that my word for it is techno-pagan. They could have picked a more accessible word for that one, you know? Weightlessness, acceptance. This one I had never heard this word before, maktub, but it's essentially, it translates to it is written. So it's basically like, you know, going with the flow, surrendering to what's happening, essentially realizing what you can change and what you can't. So that's why I wrote on here, serenity prayer, that shit. And teachers was, at first I was like, oh, is this like your ghost guides and goddesses? But this is about like when someone's pissing you off. When someone is pissing you off, what is the lesson in that? Why are they pissing you off? Where are you seeing yourself reflected in that person? So, lessons in reflection. Emotions, I was like, well, that's really fucking broad. What do they mean, emotions? But it's just basically about reflecting on how you feel in the current moment. And then I guess these were some that I didn't add keywords to that I did put at the end. Anyway, it's a beautiful deck. Oh, here's one that confused the fuck out of me. Maybe if I read it out loud with you guys right now, I will understand what it means. So these vessels are like, they're here for a reason. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna find the part where it talks about the pots. Classic Mahayana Buddhist teaching on Dharma, the three vessels, uses three pots as a visual analogy for the importance of listening and retaining how we process and receive information through our metaphorical vessels. The upside down pot asks us to remember to listen to life's teachings without distraction or assumption so we can fully absorb lessons at hand. The pot with a hole reminds us of the importance of integrating what we listen to instead of letting information leak out without being retained, embodied, and practiced. The poison pot tells us, and like, I guess this one is the poison pot, but there's no indicator that that's poisonous, tells us to keep an open mind and heart free from projection and what in Buddhism is called the 5 poisons, which are attachment, aversion, ignorance, jealousy, and pride. I don't understand that. I mean, I get that they're trying to integrate a concept of Buddhism into both the visual image and the idea of discernment, but I don't get it. I don't get it. So yeah, I'm just gonna probably have to ignore the, I mean, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Just keep saying that over and over again. I don't get it. Because they're wanting you to listen to life's teachings without distraction, integrate what you listen to without letting the information leak out of us, but also keep an open mind because poison? Yeah, I don't get that. Anyway, this is going to be the new basic oracle deck that I use on this channel. Let me do a little blasphemous Vegas shuffle here, guys. Not that I've ever called it a Vegas shuffle before, but this is what they mean. Don't do it. Don't do it. It is forbidden. It's like, do not... this is just... Yeah. Anyway, I'm angry about things that have to do with this deck, but let me tell you, when I first got it in the mail and I was flipping through it, I was marveling at the beauty of these images. Truly. I was thinking, and I like the feel of the cardstock. It's smooth and nice. The images are beautiful. A lot of the keywords are very accessible. Most of them. I do think that this is going to be a usable deck. I do. And it was 20 bucks. So I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy. Know thyself. Beautiful art. Accessible concepts, mostly. And when I go through this guidebook, and I did it with this card, and like actually highlight the things that are most important, particularly with the cards that I'm going to want to look up. Let's see what Know Thyself says, shall we? Quote from Rumi, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. They say to know thyself is to know God. Not the self is in your human identity, but the self that is unseen, the invisible self that you walk with, that observes your experiences. Be mindful of that presence. Take the time to get to know your true being and trust that the answers are within you. This true you is not influenced by the constructs of human conditioning and is always ready to be present. Knowing this true you better will bring you closer to infinite consciousness by reminding you that you are a part of a much bigger energy that is having a conversation with itself. Mantra, I am a precious drop of life's infinite ocean, and this indivisible infinity sets the abundance of my life in motion." I don't know, like, that shit just sounds like word salad to me. Am I just particularly confused right now, or what? So I am not yet going to trash the guidebook. I'm going to put it in the bag that I've assigned to this deck for now. But I am throwing away the box, and I'm throwing away those other 5 cards that I showed you. But whenever I use this deck on the channel, like, I'm going to be tempted to go ahead and consult the guidebook, but I should really not do that, because looking at these cards and reading the word is all I need. And at the times, the instances in which that wasn't all I needed more, I added words to those. You know, like, I don't need anything for this card. I don't need to read how confusing it is in the guidebook, but let's try it. Why not? This is what I've been doing for like the last 2 hours, guys. So I'm just basically recording part of this process. Oh, and my battery's about to die. So I'm just going to read this for as long as I can until the battery dies. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask and he will tell the truth. At this moment, you are being asked to consciously play with the many forms or avatars that you have the potential to embody. The mask card has presented itself as a reminder that now is the time to design and refine your character so that you can take flight and spread your creative wings. See, I would have interpreted this card differently. I mean, it depends on the context of the reading, right? Like, either you need to take the mask off or you need to put the mask on. It depends on the context. Mantra is, I can do and become anything I choose. I now choose to embody the avatar of my highest excitement, and the mask I now wear brings me closer to a feeling of enlightenment and my truest me. Like, okay, first of all, how is that a mantra? Because you can't fucking memorize that, and it's not poetic and beautiful when you say it. That's a terrible mantra. Okay, my battery's literally gonna die any second. So thank you guys for watching this nonsense. I don't know what it is. It's just an introduction to this oracle deck that will be shown on the channel. Okay, bye.